to the MasterCard booth at Carts, and today I'm talking to Chris Kangas and Mike Cowen about PayPass and contactless. So, we've had several years of contactless experience across Europe, most notably in London and Turkey and Poland. But there's a bit of a debate about the best business model for contactless. Is it really to create these sort of contactless hubs?
Good question. We've seen a lot of different market entry strategies over the last few years across Europe. We now have 15 countries live with PayPass issuing and acceptance. And in the course of all these different introductions, there's been several approaches taken. One is developing density in a city like London or Milan, where you have a large number of merchants enabled and cards issued in concentration to the residents of that area. So conventional wisdom would make us think that this would be a great way to get things started. But what we've discovered actually is that what really helps contactless take hold in the market is activating retailers with well-known brands market-wide. It's a much easier marketing message. It's less confusing to customers to say, you can tap anywhere you see this merchant, versus you can tap but only in certain locations in the center of Milan. So it's a cleaner and easier story to tell.
Yeah, so how important is that role for retailers in sort of pushing contactless and training staff? How important is that?
It's absolutely essential to create an experience that is clean and easy for both the retailer and the consumer. It's important to educate on the cardholder side as much as it is on the retailer side, to train them to be comfortable with accepting taps, especially in the early days when you're not maybe seeing so many taps. The constant reinforcement and education on the side of the retailer is important, and then the retailer can help make the cardholder feel comfortable that indeed it's okay to try this new behavior, moving away from what we know in swiping and dipping and so on to something totally new, which is tapping.
I think it's worth adding also that the quality of the implementation and the nature of the implementation is really important as well. So not, for example, requiring the cardholder to say, I want to do a contactless transaction. When they make a purchase, just having that option available to them, so neither they nor the staff member has to do anything special for it to be a contactless payment.
So we've mentioned PayPass and you mentioned Tap Go, and that of course leads us on to mass transit. So, what role will the transit operator play in sort of making contactless a viable alternative for consumers?
I think that there are a number of areas in which it helps, but probably the key one is in helping to bring about behavioural change. I mean, as Chris said, this requires people to learn to do something new when they're paying for something. And in the environments where PayPass fits best, where you have queues forming, where you want to get people moving quickly, that's perhaps the most stressed environment for people to change their behaviour. So one of the things we see is that mass transit can help people to learn that behaviour in an environment where actually many of them are already using it, and then to take that behavioural learning and to use it in the retail environment.
It's part of the everyday journey of a normal person. I'm going to take the train to work, I'm going to buy my lunch, I'm going to buy the newspaper, I'm going to take the train home. It's these everyday moments are payment opportunities for either cash or cards.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, what role does the retailer play? I mean, how important is their role in training staff and promoting contactless? How important is that?
I think, well certainly it's going to be a huge factor in bringing about behavioural change and raising people's awareness of contactless. I think one of the things that's kind of fundamentally different about the transit environment versus other contactless environments is it's perfectly possible for somebody to go into a shop that has PayPass, buy something, make a payment and leave without them realising they had that option. I think within the transit environment, within TfL in particular, it's going to be very, very visible to people that there's something new, there's something different, and I think that's going to have a huge impact on people's awareness that they can pay in this way, and the start of that process of behavioral change as well.
Well, I think the convenience of not having to obtain an Oyster card and not having to keep an Oyster card loaded with value, simply pull out your normal bank card with contactless, with PayPass. So just the convenience factor alone will drive a lot of, I think, adoption.
Yeah, it's all about eliminating pain points. It's all about getting rid of that experience where you miss your train because you were queuing up to buy a ticket, or you get on the bus to find out you don't have enough value to travel. If your means of payment for your journey is your PayPass card, and that's drawing upon your bank account or your credit card account, then you never have to top that up. You never have to put a ticket on that product. You can just use it to travel.
So we've talked about contactless in Europe and mass transit in the UK, but what are some of the other contactless projects globally that Europe can learn from?
Well, I think at MasterCard, we're all about stealing shamelessly from our own business from around the world, and one of the great models of contactless rollout has been in Canada, where nearly all of our cards are contactless enabled now, and most of the top grocery retailers have adopted contactless acceptance, and we see a huge uptake in the market of contactless. So that's been a source of inspiration and ideas for how we can approach implementation of contactless in Europe. And what it comes down to for me is focusing on well-known brands, national rollout of those retailers, and promotion to get people aware that they can actually tap in those places. In some cases, stimulating usage by offering some kind of an incentive. If I go to this shop and I tap, I'll get something, a small prize. And these types of tactics have actually worked to create an early user group, which then gives the merchant the practice that they need on a daily basis to keep things going and to build on that. So that's the main point, I think, for how we see the evolution of contactless in our region now.
And I think one of the other learnings that we've seen, particularly from Canada, is that contactless isn't just about contactless, is when a person uses their card to tap for pay for things, they actually use that card more widely for all sorts of purchases, not just contactless transactions. So it becomes their preferred card, and it becomes a card. I guess one of the things is when you start to use your card contactlessly, it perhaps makes you question, well, things that I've used cash for before, maybe I could actually use my card for that now. So I think, it gives opportunities to increase that share of transactions that are done electronically rather than via cash.
Well, the contactless device is sitting there available to you as a cardholder. It's in your control. I take the card out, I'm tapping. It's almost like putting a welcome at the merchant's point of sale to say, indeed, you can use your card. I'm not going to look at you funny if it's $5 or below transaction. It's sort of a welcome that, go ahead, use your card, it's fine. So that's giving a sense of, it's overcoming this psychological barrier that many cardholders have when they start, thinking about using their card for really low value payments. So I think this opens up that opportunity to, reach into that cash universe, which is really where the area of opportunity is today for electronic payments, with something like 85% of retail payments still paid with cash and checks. PayPass is one tool that we have to move into that space.